Hello.
Hi, good morning.
It's What's Good With You podcast, and this is Nia Queen. We have a special guest today standing in for, the hood psychologist. He couldn't make it today. He was feeling under the weather, but today we have a guest, Lawrence Carter.
Hi.
Hello.
How you doing?
Lawrence is a political activist, student, and co-founder of Black Organizers United. Lawrence also has his own YouTube show called Larry Chats, where he discusses politics and social topics. And when he's not making videos, he is a full-time student at Cal State San Bernardino and working with Black Organizers United to build political engagement and awareness in the Black community. Welcome to What's Good With You.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
This is our first guest. I'm so excited. Man. Okay. Let's get right into it. Hate to see it. That's our first segment. And I was really nervous, honestly. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I felt like Trump was gonna win.
What?
I'm sorry. And I'm not saying that because I wanted him to win.
Right, yeah.
But I've just seen so much, like, Trump supporters, just so much hate, on Instagram and, social media. And I was just like, oh, dang, like, he really got a lot of following. I was getting a little scared because I'm like, nobody expected him to win in 2016.
Right, yeah.
And, like, we're just doubting, like, oh, he's not going to win. Hillary's going to win.
Oh, he's stupid.
Right, exactly. Oh, he's not a politician. There's no way he can win.
Yeah.
And then he won in 2016, and, like, it was a shock. So this election, I was hoping that he wouldn't win, but I was a little afraid that, he could do it. But, I mean, he lost.
You were hesitant, like, seeing the results? That's what you were?
Yeah, seeing the results. Results.
When it was close.
I was nervous, yeah. I was like, dang, this is close. Like, man. But, it's been a long week. Like, I've been very anxious, like, checking my phone every, like, time I wake up, like, okay, did they post the results?
Yeah.
Did they post the results? Like, I was just so scared.
The whole country was basically waiting on a pregnancy test. Like,
right.
The results of a pregnancy for days. Right,
yeah. And so we're recording this on Sunday. So yesterday they announced that Joe Biden is the president-elect. And, a lot of people were partying in the streets and, I seen memes of, like, little baby putting a chain on him and everything. I'm like, memes. All right, this man is not black, y'all. This man is not black. Just because he worked with Obama, he's not black, y'all. Okay, just letting y'all know that. Anyway.
The memes.
But, also I saw a lot of, tension between people in the black community who are like, you guys think that Joe Biden is your savior and the Democratic Party is filled with pedophiles and, like, saying all this stuff. And I'm just like, I want to have a healthy conversation about it without being disrespectful and try to understand their side.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, come on, like, just be happy that Trump is gone, you know?
Well, I mean, some people, they have let's just say a complex, or adverse thought toward Trump. Mm-hmm. Because even though if you ask 100 people, what policy did he institute to specifically benefit your life, probably 80 of them are going to say nothing.
Right.
Probably.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple rich people, yada, yada, things
right.
like that don't benefit from it. But a lot of people, they have hope. They had hope in Trump, like what they wanted to see. So I kind of understand. Obviously, he didn't come through with with those promises, but I kind of understand. But at the same time, if you want to have, like, a civil conversation, it's going to take both people to be adults and realize, what's true, what's not true. Because saying Democrats are pedophiles, it's not even, come on, it's not even realistic. Like, that's dumb.
I mean, I'll say this, like, I'm open to learning new information, and I try not to speak on politics too much because that's not my forte. Mm-hmm. My forte is mental health, okay? If you want to ask me about mental health or mental illness or therapy, anything about that, I can answer that. But politics, that's not my, forte. So when I'm thinking about who I'm voting for, I'm thinking about, okay, what plans do they have for the black community? What policies do they have? If this person is in position of power, will it be easier to get the policies through that I want or that benefit me?
Yeah.
And I looked at it as, okay, even though I don't support all of Joe Biden's, past political career and, the crime bill and all that, I don't support that. But I'm thinking in my head, if Joe Biden is the president, it will be easier for me to get policies passed that benefit me. Right? So that's how I'm looking at it. With Trump, I don't see that.
Absolutely not.
So,
there's been no show of that.
Exactly. Like, all he cares about is money and himself.
Yeah.
Right? Would you say that Trump is a narcissist?
Yeah, so there's like a panel of mental health professionals for, I forgot what it was called, but it was like 70 of them. And they all gave like a diagnosis, so quote unquote, just based on how he's acted, what he's done, what he said, collectively, everything, even policy. And they concluded that he was a narcissist and that he had some kind of personality disorder, something.
Narcissistic
like
personality disorder.
That's
go.
What I was like, if we know this, I mean, somebody, and you can't step in because he has to like accept that and
and he's not gonna accept it.
Exactly.
He hasn't even accepted that he lost.
Yeah.
He tweeted yesterday morning like,
I ain't leaving.
Yeah, it's like, I won. If you count the Leo votes, I won. This is not over. Like,
oh my goodness,
just let it go,
this is
man.
not over.
Then he tried to say stop the count. I was just like, okay.
Oh yeah.
You see, when it's somebody else on the other side that's losing, he didn't, he doesn't question it. But when he's losing, it's, oh no, it's rigged. Oh no, stop the count. This is illegal. Da 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 da. And it's just like, why can't you just accept your loss as a man?
And but that's what it's like when your entire life you've been at the top. Your entire life you've been privileged and things have been handed to you.
Right.
Losses are not acceptable. They're not even a reality in most cases. So he lost a Grammy. In like, I don't know, 2004 or something, and he said the Grammys are rigged against me, and then he lost
I saw that when Hillary Clinton said that, right?
She did.
Yeah, like in the debate, I posted a video about it in the debate that they had in 2016. She was giving all these examples of when he lost, saying he lost all these things, and every time he said it was rigged. Every
single time, because when you're handed everything, when you live a privileged life, socially, even amongst other people, you're like, I'm the best, I'm the most amazing. There's no such thing as losing. If I lose, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how that's carried over. I ain't leaving office.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay. But also a part of me is a little bit scared because I'm like, he doesn't leave until January. So what is he going to do in these next couple of months?
He can write up some executive orders that just tear us to pieces.
Yeah, I'm like,
everybody that protested going to jail.
Exactly. Like I'm a little nervous about that, but I'm glad that this election is over, and I feel like, being in quarantine has helped open a lot of people's eyes about what's really going on in this country. Yeah. And I feel like that's why, the voter turnout was so great. Because it normally isn't like that. And like a lot of new people registered to vote. And I'm just happy that, people are getting more involved and seeing that they do need to do something, other than just comment on Instagram about Trump. Like, you need to go out there and actually vote and have your voice be heard. And for my friends that didn't vote and all that, that's on you. I'm not gonna force anybody to vote. Like, that's your decision. But just I get a little mad when you want to complain about other things that's happening in the country, but you didn't vote. I'm just like,
and I mean, honestly, for people, civic engagement is like the number one way to change. Make changes that we want to see. So, there's a lot of folks that didn't vote, but they have a lot to say about like where we are. So it's unfortunate.
Did you do anything with Black Organizers United, like for this election?
Oh yeah. We did a mass campaign, for getting people registered, for telling people what propositions are, what propositions will affect the Black community the most. As far as like registering people, educating people, and empowering them really to, like, if you didn't think the election mattered, here's why it matters. You know, and we had a couple events revolving around that, and it was good. It was good. We were able to get people politically engaged.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like seeing people engage. I like seeing black people, you know, engaged. And like also too, I want to acknowledge like Kamala Harris being the first woman vice president.
HBCU educated.
Okay.
Black woman. That's crazy.
I mean, she didn't go to Hampton, but it's okay. It's Howard. You know, I'm down with Howard too. Like, it's okay. You know, we gonna accept that win for today. Everybody from HBCUs won yesterday.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen a lot of things like, you know, HBCU education doesn't prepare you for the real world, and it's like, no, yes, it does.
Who said that?
No.
Ben Shapiro or one of them?
I ain't gonna put no people out there. I ain't gonna put no people out
Whoever
there.
Say that, don't.
Exactly. Now you see that, you know, our education is valuable and HBCUs are valuable.
Absolutely.
And, you know, one thing that I loved about just being at the HBCU is that it gave me a lot more confidence. And I see that in Kamala. She has great confidence. Like, she just carries herself very well, and she's very well spoken. It's just like I see that Howard in her, you know, a little bit. But that's it's ups and downs to this election. I'll say
always.
It's ups and downs. We don't get everything that we want.
Man.
And it's like, you're never going to get everything you want. That's what, you know, people don't understand. They're like, why are you voting? It's like, we're never going to get everything that we want, but it might be easier for us to get some things now.
I was a part of instituting various bills and making them laws. And more recently, not more recently, a couple of years ago, I was lobbying for AB 392. So this bill was specifically for police brutality in the instance of, you know, police. It changed the language in the police code, quote unquote, from reasonable use of force to necessary use of force. So there was a young man, Deontay Yarber, shot 28 times, I think, when he was sleeping in his car. So for that specific instance, we were like, that's not necessary. Like, that's not even reasonable use of force.
Yeah.
So we got the language changed in the law. But initially, the law was, if they're unarmed, you don't pull the gun out. You go for taser, baton, the number of things that police officers have. But it's compromise. So politics is always compromise. We went in saying, okay, no more use of force if they're unarmed. And at the end of it, after we've compromised both sides, Republicans, Democrats, after they've compromised, they end up saying, okay, we're just going to change it from reasonable to necessary. So we're not going to, it's not like don't touch them if they're unarmed, but it has to be necessary use of force. So politics is all about compromise. You know, you have to know how to fold them. Know where your wins are.
Well,
that's unfortunate.
At least it's a glimmer of hope. A glimmer.
Shoot, this hope shining.
Right, like, at least it's a glimmer. And I mean, some people might not agree, but, you know, that's okay. Let's agree to disagree.
Right, yeah.
Because that's what we're going to have to do going forward. Because I can't go back on these, you know, Instagram arguments. And, we're not going to do that. We're just going to take this little glimmer of hope.
You can send it to me.
Use that as motivation to, you know, be more engaged.
Absolutely.
And push those policies that are going to support the black community. So we're going to go into our next segment. Let's keep it real. I'm titling this episode Boys Don't Cry because I feel like, you know, black men struggle with being vulnerable and, you know, sharing their emotions. And one of the reasons why I created this podcast was because I wanted to know, how do black men process their emotions? And I wanted to be able to connect with them on a deeper level and also connect with my black male clients, because I've always struggled with, you know, getting them to open up and acknowledge their pain, acknowledge their trauma. So I have two black men with me right now. I have Lawrence and I have Clyde on the phone with us that joined us. And I'm just going to be asking them their experience, you know, as a black man growing up and how they deal with their emotions or not deal with them, whichever it is. So I guess I'll start with Lawrence. Last week we did an episode on parents and how they affect your mental health. So I wanted to start off with, like, how was your experience growing up, and how did that affect the way you process your emotions or deal with your emotions?
Just dealing specifically with like mental health.
No, not mental health, just even like being vulnerable with your emotions. Like, you know, were you taught like not to cry? Like, were you taught, you know, man up, shake it off? Like, or were your parents more like, no, it's okay, talk to us?
I don't think it was intentionally like don't cry or nothing like that. But I think in any situation, I could be wrong, but I think in any situation, society is going to have more of an influence than your parents are, because your parents are like, oh, they love me, they know, they want what's best for me, yada yada. You already know, like, you know, they're kind of going to steer me in the right direction, but that might be like not like a corny direction, or like you know, detached from social things. So socially, I was influenced more than like parents or parent figures. You know, I feel like, because watching TV, you know, if you see somebody coming out on top and they're not showing their emotions, and they're not, you know, you see somebody in a place that you want to be, you emulate them. Right. So if I see, like, on TV, I really liked DMX growing up. Oh, okay. So, like, you know, with that as an example, you're not showing emotion, you ain't crying, you're not talking about trauma. Like, it's an example set before me. So I feel like that influenced me more than like parents. But I did still kind of create my own narrative from that, because I don't care. I'll be vulnerable, and if somebody takes advantage of me, I'll throw them in the trash and go on to the next person and be vulnerable with them, and make friendships based off that. But not a lot of people are like that. Right. Takes kind of a courage to so how vulnerable. Were you as a child, like, as far as dealing with disappointment or sadness? Like, how would you? I would openly be sad. If it was like devastating, like I remember when my uncle died, I was like at school crying. Like, I don't, you know, I was never one to care what outside people are like. Oh, he's crying. I don't care. But that takes like a certain amount of courage, and that wasn't influence. That was just a personality thing. Okay, Clyde, what would you say? Like, how is the way you deal with your emotions? How is that shaped?
It was probably, I mean, today people would see it as the wrong way to handle the emotions, but I'm pretty comfortable with how I handle them. Like, crying in front of people, that's like, it's not an option for me. Like, I can't give anybody that luxury of seeing me cry, like me shedding tears in front of a room full of people that I don't know won't happen. You know what I mean? Like, if, like, I've been in situations so where I got a phone call and something went wrong, like, I just got to walk out the room. I just feel like crying. It's like one of those things so where, just like I don't let people get to me, I just can't. I'm not comfortable with sharing my emotions with a room full of strangers. You know what I mean? And when things happen, you know, I'm a man. A lot of times I just feel like, you know, I seen my dad. Things felt, you know, things didn't go as planned. But at the end of the day, he wasn't at the table crying about it. You know what I mean? He just manned up and made it work, because you know, at the end of the day, your family is the one, you know, you the rock for your family to cry on. You know, you could, and when I was raised growing up, like, we didn't cry over spilled milk. You know what I mean? There's other things to cry about, but spilled milk ain't one of them. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times you just take it on the chin, and it just forms you into. It kind of makes you tough in a sense.
Sounds like you have a lumpy chin. It's not like you're gonna have a lumpy chin.
That's interesting because you guys have two completely opposite views on this, which is great. But I wanted to ask you, I think you said a key thing is like he said when his dad growing up, when he went through stuff, he was the rock of the family. He couldn't cry in front of the family, and I think that's a big thing. Why one of the reasons why Black men don't show their emotions, because they feel the need to be strong for everybody else, and that's a big thing. I wanted to ask you too, like when you say that you can't let people see you like that, or you can't let people get to you, what do you mean by that?
Like if I would cry at my job, like I would cry. I just feel like people, like when they, I feel like, okay, I'm married, so like,
oh, okay,
that's a part of me that there's certain parts of me that my wife will only get, you know what I mean, or people, my loved ones will only get.
Okay.
And if it ever happens, like, I haven't, my wife hasn't seen me cry, but she hasn't seen me cry.
Wow.
But if I did cry and my wife just so happened to be there, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be upset about it.
Okay.
But
see, I think
anybody else, it's more of a, I just feel like people hold that against you, like when you open up yourself to people, like they do weird stuff like that, and it, especially when it comes to emotion, and when you open yourself up, there's.
What do you mean they do weird stuff? Tell me more.
Stuff like for instance, like you're having an emotional breakdown, or they assume things are going on that's not really going on. And unfortunately, as a Black man, we don't really have the luxury to be boo-hoo crying everywhere, because the world is nasty to us. A lot of times we have to just take it on the chin and keep it pushing. Like, we've all experienced being pulled over. Well, not everybody, but a good majority of us.
Right.
Been experienced being pulled over, mistreated, slammed on the hood of the car. Like, I mean, I'm not going to cry about it. I know what it is. I'm going to be very upset, but it's okay. I would feel like that would be an okay moment to cry about it, but the cop wouldn't see me cry. You know,
right?
What I mean? It was. That's what I mean.
I don't know. I feel like I understand, like, the notion of trying to be strong for everybody else,
right?
And, like, trying to be like, I'm the Rock. I'm not going to show emotion, but I feel like strength would be showing emotion, because you know. I
wasn't gonna say nothing, but
like think about it. If everybody around you is carrying on this, like, trend, so to speak, it's easy to fall in line with that trend. It's easy socially to be like, all right, well, I'm just doing what everybody else do, because whatever. But it takes a certain amount of, like, courage and strength to be like, no, I don't care what I don't care what the standard is or what the norm is. This is how I feel, so I'm gonna express that. I think that would be the strength, rather than hiding it or acting like, you get slammed on a hood of a car. That's a traumatic experience. I got beat up in handcuffs. That's a traumatic experience. And I cried. I think.
Did you cry while you were getting handcuffed?
No, I was mad. I was too mad to cry then. But after I did, and I think if we don't acknowledge that, not only does it not make us strong, in my opinion, but that makes us weaker, because that's more weight. Like, we're just carrying around baggage at this point that we haven't dealt with, that we haven't opened and looked through. So it's just on us. It's just weight.
I understand both sides, because I took a course on, like, Black males and how they handle grief and trauma, and it was by this Dr. Alan Lipscomb. And basically what he said is, throughout history, when he went all the way back to slavery, Jim Crow era, it's like Black men have been forced to accept traumatic situations over time, and historically there's never been a place for them to let out their emotions, to let out their grief, to show that emotion. And like Clyde was saying earlier, like, if they did show their emotion, it would be seen as weak.
Right.
And people can take advantage of that, right? And that's true. Back then in slavery and Jim Crow era, like, you had to put on a strong face to make it through.
Right.
Like, it was no time for that, right?
Yeah, time for it.
Right. And now it's the police brutality thing. Like he said, that cop is not going to see me cry. Like, I'm not going to let that cop get the satisfaction that he's making me cry. Like, I have to be strong. But then I get your point, too. It's like, how do you deal with all of that weight and maneuver out through life with that weight just sitting on you and not expressing it, not showing the emotion? I mean, yeah, I understand both sides, because I can see how historically there's never been a safe space for black men to be vulnerable or to show, that this has affected me. So it's just passed down from generation to generation. Like he said, his dad, didn't show emotion. His dad didn't cry like that. Yeah. So why would he do that if his dad didn't do that? You know what I'm saying? So it makes sense to me.
I mean, I kind of understand, because no father figure, even my dad, didn't cry growing up.
Right.
Like, they just didn't. So I understand, like, where it comes from. But at the same time, I think personality plays a lot into it, because people have taken advantage of me when I was vulnerable with them, and tried to publicly humiliate me, like, you was crying, ha ha ha, like, and I kind of learned from that. And
he said, "See,
yeah," but that wasn't a reason for me to stop being vulnerable. It was a reason for me to find who to be vulnerable with, and I think personality plays a part, because one type of personality, like my uncle, could be like, "No more, I ain't never doing this again. This is stupid. I hate being vulnerable." And the other type of personality, like me, is like, all right, so people like this are garbage. I'm just not going to be vulnerable with them, and be vulnerable with who I pick.
Right.
So it's personality plays a part too.
I think too. Go ahead, Clyde.
Oh, go ahead. I mean, there's people in life that are like that. That's like their job. Like, when they see that they strike a nerve, they keep on trying to strike a nerve. And they'll be in a situation to where you can't avoid them, like your job or at church or something where you have to work together, or a teacher at your school while you're in class or college. Like, it's inevitable. Like, these people are around on a daily basis, and there's absolutely nothing you could do about it. So the idea of but I mean, if we really think about it though, like, a man that's over emotional, like, that's very emotional.
And you said over emotional, you mean expressive? Like, expressive? Cause
no. I mean, like, who's always in his feelings, who's always crying.
Yeah,
expressive.
You know how it is. If you had a homeboy, in your group, y'all was kicking it at the house or whatever, he was just very emotional about everything.
Yeah.
You know what they're gonna tell him? Stop acting like. You know what I mean?
It would be annoying, but I wouldn't tell him to stop.
and I wanna decipher the two. I'm not telling black men to be overly emotional. I'm just saying, it would be helpful if you had a person to talk to.
Right.
Even like he was saying, like his wife. Okay, that's good. If you could be vulnerable with your wife, your partner, your lifelong partner, and you could talk about the things that's bothering you with her, then that's good. But there's some men that never even speak about it, and they're like, I got to handle this by myself.
Yeah, married, no matter what.
Right, married, single, whatever it is. Yeah. Like, I'm just, as a therapist too, it's like, I see the negative outcomes of holding all that stuff in. And like, a lot of, black male clients get sent to me with like anger issues or, conduct issues. And it's like, when I really, do the assessment on them and do the background on them, I see all this trauma that they've dealt with. And it's like, you could tell they never talked about it, and it's coming out with anger or, misconduct or, being disrespectful. Yeah. And it's like, no, this kid is not bad. This kid is in pain.
Yeah.
And it's scary because it's like, if they don't ever learn how to be vulnerable with anybody, what does that look like when they become a black man? Mm-hmm. What can that lead to as a black man? So that's my biggest concern. But I wanted to ask another question about what are some common things that black men struggle with emotionally, but maybe won't talk about it.
Oh, the expectations that our black women have of us. That's a struggle every day.